We're back. Been a couple of years, but we're doing this again. Dean, it's good, man.
Yeah.
Good morning. We just landed in Cagayan-de-Oro. We're going to start the permit process to get into Marawi. Finally made it to Marawi City. We're trying to get the permits that we need to be able to enter and get the approval of the Army and the police department. We're doing everything above board, and we're gonna go meet everybody right now. So this is our first time in Marawi. We weren't able to get here the last time 2 years ago, but now we can. So here we are. Welcome to Marawi, everybody. I'm not even gonna bring a camera. You can bring that one, but I don't want to shove a camera in their face, you know. Okay. We're here at the Task Force Bangan Marawi headquarters. This is a location that has 56 government agencies housed under one roof, and they all have to cooperate together to function as one unit to rebuild Marawi. Can you imagine having to coordinate the activities of 56 government organizations? You and I know how the government runs. 56 government organizations, and they're doing a pretty good job given the circumstances. This is also the place where people come to air their grievances, report problems, and get help for all manner of things, from healthcare to food to reconstruction. And it's not just reconstruction of buildings, it's reconstruction of infrastructure, everything that's been destroyed. All manner of problems that you can imagine after a large-scale siege of a city are addressed here. And the reason it's consolidated in one location is so they can crosstalk more effectively. If you haven't figured it out, most of these people don't have a really reliable email connection anymore. You can't just shoot an email to somebody. It's much easier if everybody can come to one place and all of the people from all of the government agencies can come together and just speak on a daily basis. It really facilitates the speed and efficiency of the reconstruction. Look at the amount of detail, the indicative timeline and cost. Everything in terms of the priority list right here, and on the bottom, that's 13 billion Philippine pesos. That's a lot of goddamn money, man. Ma'am, thank you so much for doing this. What is your name and what was your business?
Rupaya Bandera Sultan. Yung business ko na...
Her business before was with the textile way back in 2014, and then it continued until 2017. And during the Marawi siege, the business was kind of affected, but they were able to get some benefit, 500,000 from CDA Cooperative. And right now they're trying to rebuild. There was 35 of them who was able to receive the 500,000.
How has Task Force Bangan Marawi helped you in 2019? What brings you here today, and how do you expect them to help you in the future?
Nasa si Sir Asik na isa ko machine.
You were given high-speed machinery.
From Task Force Bangan Marawi?
Oh.
Yeah.
For textiles?
Yep.
Mga member ko sa cooperative ko na open sa loan na DTI.
Okay, so DTI offered them some loans, options for loans.
Dahil sa recommender ni Asik.
Because of the recommendation from Asik Castro.
Do you feel like you have hope for the future?
Si Allah eh. Si Allah.
Yeah, in God's will.
In God's will.
God's will. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much for talking to me. sitting here in Iligan. It's a little after 5 a.m. I'm doing a quick time lapse to show you guys just how much it's changed. A couple of years ago, I wouldn't have done this. This town looks like it's a little bit more bustling. There isn't this dark pall covering it, and it just feels a little bit more normal. We're here at what was once the Christina Internally Displaced Persons Camp in 2017, and we're going to see what it looks like now. How have you noticed since the worst of the conflict in 2017 to now? How have you noticed the changes in Iligan?
So, sa ngayon, mula nung bumalik na yung IDPs.
When the IDPs were here, there were significant changes within the community. There was a lot of people who lived there, so there was a problem with traffic, resources, and right now it's already back to normal, and then they're just trying to stabilize everything.
This is great. Look at this. It's just kids playing basketball. This used to have 1,300 people living here with nothing to their name other than what the government or the Red Cross or whatever can give them. I was never athletic, ever in my life. Don't laugh at me, Don. Don't laugh at me, Don. Don's on it. Damn. You're like Larry Bird. Like Larry Bird. That's the only basketball reference I got. Damn. Ricky, can you play basketball?
I only play basketball with shot before and after.
This makes me happy. This actually makes me happy. If you remember, 2 years ago, we talked to a man named Patrick Nunez, who's in charge of the DRRMO. That stands for Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office, and we're going to pay him a visit right now. But Patrick, thank you for doing this. It's been 2 years, and this looks like a different city here in Iligan.
Yeah.
You look a lot less stressed. You look a little bit happier. You know, you had 93,000 people just existing in your town almost overnight before.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
We're already okay now in the city of Iligan after we send them back where they belong. In fact, we're able now to use our facilities and even our evacuation centers. Half of the population in Marawi was here in Iligan.
It was 90 plus thousand
90
extra
plus
people that were all throwing out things, going to the bathroom, all of
Yes,
everything.
and this open defecation.
Yeah. Oh God. You know, that's the stuff you don't think about.
We don't think about
You know?
that, and of course the
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah.
It's so lucky that our mayor imposes the law and order, especially putting some curfew hours. In fact, our local traders were greatly affected on their operations.
Oh, good point. So the
we have to
business
live
has suffered.
Yeah, on the side of we consider this will be a temporary.
The last time I was here, much of the focus of the initial documentary was martial law, and here it seemed that it was appropriate for that to take place because you had all of the different tribes that were together at those evacuation centers and everything else. So maintaining law and order had to be a unique experience.
It's really unique experience is because we have to manage also the culture sensitivity.
Yeah.
In Maranaos, they call it the rido thing.
They say that again?
The rido. This
Rido.
is a quarrel of different clans.
Oh, like a tribal feud. A tribal feud. I feel like we touched on this briefly 2 years ago.
The city wants to manage also that we will not put them in one evacuation center. That would really spark, and that's the venue for their,
But sometimes you don't have a choice, especially the nature of armed uprisings means that people are going to be coming in as it happens, no?
Yeah.
How do you organize that? You're a Maranao, you're from this tribe, you're from this tribe, you have to go to this one, you have to go to Maria Christina, you have to go to this one.
Yeah.
Is that, so you actively have to take that into consideration?
Yeah, that's why we have to empower our camp managers. Especially our camp managers have difficulty to understand their dialect. So we have to put in place the Maranao speaking camp managers.
Last time we did focus on martial law, And now it's quite obvious that at least right here it is appropriate for that to be because of what we just discussed. They're considering extending it for a third time now. Do you think that that's necessary? Is it still necessary here?
Yeah, for the whole island of Mindanao, yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Yes.
If they don't, do you think that the law and order will deteriorate?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
okay.
so. Especially Marawi is still on the process of recovery,
Yeah.
and we won't allow the armed uprising again will happen. Our hope is the cooperation of the community. We're hoping that everyone should be vigilant, and there's a lot. We're expecting more contributions with the community, especially on the hinterlands areas where insurgencies are happening now. So we have dealing now. We have issues now on the NPA.
Right. The New People's Army.
Yeah.
So right now, do you think that the next threat is the Reds?
Yeah, we're ongoing. There's an ongoing.
It's ongoing, but I
it's
mean,
ongoing
now that the
operation.
Islamic State has been, at least for the time being, is inactive. I mean, I'm not so naive as to think that there aren't some sympathizers or people that are still just hiding. But now that that threat is, for lack of a better term, on the back burner, is the New People's Army a serious consideration for you guys in the back of your head?
Yeah. Exactly. Now, what's happening now in our hinterlands area, like Kalilangan, Paroganan, and Rugungon, their presence are there now in those areas.
Do you think it's growing?
They're growing, and what we heard is they're doing this massive recruitments, and the vulnerable population is the youth.
Is it why? Is it lack of opportunity?
Uh,
What makes them vulnerable to recruitment from a communist rebel group that sleeps in the forest and the mountains?
Number one is the doctrine of idealism. Second is poverty. They're offering sum of money for recruitment. If you're a farmer or if you're a youth, your yield for your proceeds of your plantations, that will give you around 15 to 20,000 in a quarter. But they're giving now 30,000 pesos for a month,
Wow.
and plus a ammunition.
So it's financially motivated.
Yeah,
Wow, I did not know that.
and they're not doing here in urban areas, but in the hinterlands area.
And eventually that will bleed into the urbanized areas like Iligan
Correct.
and Marawi again, or wherever else.
Correct.
If you could go back and tell that stressed Patrick Nunez from 2 years ago that I talked to a piece of advice about something that you've learned over these 2 years, what would you tell? What kind of advice would you give him?
Cooperation is really a key word for us. Cooperation and collaboration, especially like you guys. You came here during the onset of the disaster. We could not make it alone here in Iligan. So it's a collaboration from non-government agencies, especially on the national government agencies also, to deal with disasters. Remember, we are not directly hit. We're just the host. But primarily, our job is more than the host of these IDPs. So the key word for us is the coordination and cooperation.
Okay, Patrick, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me again. Thank you, man. Salamat po.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Want to get some lunch?
Yeah. Well,
Let's go get some lunch, man.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having us here. I appreciate that. What is your name and what was your business prior to the siege of Marawi?
I have business before. It's a little business.
Lugar.
Tulugan ng mama niya.
Yung tayo, yung sari-sari store.
Small stores.
Small store, a little shop. Do you feel that Task Force Bangan Marawi is assisting you effectively?
Wala.
They provide shelters and
Yung
other
mga relief food.
relief goods.
Relief goods?
One house is 3 families.
Wait, one of these houses, this house right here, 3 families?
Oh, me.
So your son and his wife are here, and you are in here. With you're in here with 3 more children.
Oh, pero na ng mga my son is 3 kids is so mangda.
3 kids.
Oh,
Pero
3
kayong
kids.
anak pa.
Malaki. Oh,
And then
malaki.
grown up as
So
well.
this is total of
Binata pa.
3.
Mga ilan kayo? Madami.
Dito kami 6, 7, 8, 12.
12 people.
Wow. Does it feel tight? A little bit too cramped?
Malibit ka, no?
Oh, yes. Sardinas.
Sardines.
Sardines. Yes,
A
sardines.
can of sardines. Before the conflict, what was your life?
Automobile.
Automobile.
Business.
Like taxi?
Yeah.
Business. Yes,
Taxi.
like taxi.
Like taxi.
Yes, taxi.
Taxi, yeah, like this.
After the siege of Marawi, how did that change for you?
Ang sitwasyon namin ngayon, sabi,
It's really difficult compared to their situation now is very difficult because they need to wait for a relief. They are still expecting from the government that there is a program for that.
For capital investment.
Yes.
Okay.
But they are still have what we call this hope.
You have hope for the future?
yeah.
Yeah.
But we are willing to success.
Oh, yeah. I hope all these programs of government to be realized in the future.
I think only
For them to be
we are
helped.
planning to help us, but until now nothing. So we are willing succeed about that.
But they still have a trust for the government.
They have trust.
Yeah.
They have trust in the government.
Government.
Okay, understood. This is one of the commercial areas in Marawi. As you can see, there's nothing left. There's no people here. There's nothing. It all needs to be demolished and it all needs to be rebuilt. The people that General Castro is in charge of can't just fix things. They need to demolish everything, revamp the infrastructure, rebuild the buildings, and start a new Marawi. What I'm about to say may sound like some kind of a sick joke, but it's not. This used to be a marketplace. This pile of rubble, these piles of shit all around us used to be a marketplace. Goldsmiths, iron workers, lumber yards, tailors, everything. And now it's this. As you can see, they're working their ass off to try to fix it. They're working day in, day out. They're putting in so many man hours, weekends, holidays, everything. And they're doing it because they need to demo everything, clear all the rubble, revamp the infrastructure, and then rebuild every building. Now the government is going to take care of all the public buildings and things like barangay halls, public schools, things of that nature. But then the private citizens are allowed to come back afterwards and begin their lives again. It's going to be a challenge, but this place is going to be good again. If we come back here in a few years, this is going to be a completely different world.
This is well. This is their stronghold.
On the 24th of August 2017, troops of Joint Special Operations Unit 2, Joint Special Operations Unit 3, and Joint Task Group PNP, supported by Joint Task Group Bakal, under Joint Task Group Vector, carefully planned and strategically cleared the Islamic Center, the enemy's logistics hub in the sector. Improvised explosive devices and rocket-propelled grenades were emplaced along the possible approaches of the government forces. I'm standing inside the Central Grand Mosque of Marawi. This is where the imam would be preaching, or as Westerners would think, maybe a priest or a preacher, a minister of some sort. This used to be all carpeted and adorned with all sorts of decorations, but there was a lot of fighting that happened right here in this spot. Unfortunately, this incredibly beautiful structure is now utterly destroyed. You could see everything from bullet holes to shrapnel marks and pockmarked walls and pillars and all of the artistic adornments that were on all of these balconies and the dome above, which I'll shoot shortly. It's just utterly destroyed, and it's a crying shame. It's really a true piece of evidence of what the results of war can be. Many people lost their lives here. It's just a really sad situation. So yeah, this is the Central Grand Mosque of Marawi, everybody. This is the home, or what's left of it, of the first Filipino Muslim senator. He's also the pioneer of the bill that allowed Mindanao State University to be built.
This is what remains the Church of St. Mary. So this was one of the first taken, and a lot of people have been taken hostage here as well. There were some old relics here that were destroyed. So you can see here images of Christ destroyed. This was an area where the ISIS terrorists were destroying statues, religious statues. Nothing remains of it now.
On the 16th of September 2017, Joint Task Group Vector, with close air support and field artillery fire support, launched a series of assaults to clear Bato Mosque, one of the oldest and most historical places of worship in Marawi City, and the largest logistics hub of the enemy. The troops were able to seize the mosque after a 12-day intense firefight against the enemy. I'm standing on the Mapandi Bridge in Marawi. This is significant because it's a key piece of terrain that started the entire conflict. On May 23rd, 2017, at around 10 a.m., ISIS decided to take over a bunch of churches, schools, and other major facilities. They took hostages, they killed people. Once they got to this bridge, they secured it, and then they started emplacing snipers in all these bombed out buildings that you can see over here. Well, they weren't bombed out at the time. And then they started emplacing IEDs in all the little thoroughfares that would pipe you into this bridge. This bridge is significant because it's a major thoroughfare. It connects the commercial area, or one of the major commercial areas of Marawi, to both Mindanao State University and one of the most populated areas of the city. ISIS held on to this for quite a few months, and the military and police force took countless casualties trying to get it back. Rangers, special forces, police, Marines, everybody was involved. This is the Mapandi Bridge, and a lot of lives were lost trying to get it back.
I'm Reynaldo Lopez, but they call me Bong. The last time I used that name Reynaldo was when I received my first communion. I'm a lawyer by profession, a teacher by vocation, and a lover by inclination.
When a president in the Philippines declares martial law, we know that it means that the military has established law and order, but who needs to approve it? How does it actually happen?
I'll give you a brief background about the history of martial law in the Philippines, okay? We used to have this 1935 Constitution under the American Commonwealth. So, under the 1935 Constitution, we just copied the military powers of the president from the US Constitution. So, it's the same. Now, the Americans applied that here in the Philippines because there was a war. So, they have to use martial law. Okay. And that Constitution was effective until the time of Marcos. Okay. So, Marcos, who had a 4-year term, and he can be re-elected for another 4-year term, just like in the United States under the 1935 Constitution. For the first time, he was re-elected for the first time in the Philippine history. So he was supposed to end his last term in 1973, and therefore he can no longer run. He declared martial law in 1972.
As of the 21st of this month, I signed Proclamation number 1081, placing the entire Philippines under martial law.
Under the pretext that there was a invasion, rebellion, insurrection, and other lawless violence. But some people don't believe that. He just declared martial law to change the constitution in order to perpetuate himself into power. And that is really what had happened.
How do you make the determination of how broad it is?
That is the actually the issue in that petition with the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court said they cannot decide and act on the case because it's not a justiciable question. A justiciable question is something which the court can decide because it's in the Constitution that it violates. Okay. Until people power came. People power came. Cory Aquino became president by revolution. Okay. So Marcos was ousted. And Cory, at first, was a revolutionary president who ruled by decree. But she was not comfortable with that because she would look like just Marcos ruling by decree. So she created a commission which will draft a new constitution because she does not want to follow the constitution of Marcos. Under the new constitution, any citizen can go to the Supreme Court and petition and question the factual basis. So the Supreme Court can no longer say now it is a purely political question, non-justiciable. It is now justiciable. Supreme Court can now decide on the factual basis. Another check and balance, when the president declares martial law, Congress within 48 hours must convene and say if the suspension or declaration has factual basis or not. Now,
So there's two checks and balances now.
Yes. One is by petition of a citizen with the Supreme Court. But if nobody petition, even without a petition, Congress within 48 hours must convene. Now, Congress may decide to lift martial law saying there's no factual basis. Or, Congress may say, yes, there is factual basis. So you have martial law. Now, under the Constitution, when the President declares martial law, it is only effective and valid for 60 days. Every time it expires, the President must ask Congress to extend. He cannot just go on, he cannot just let it go on as long as he wants, unless Congress extends. Now, the extension must be upon the recommendation of the President. Congress cannot just extend it because they want to extend it. It must be upon the recommendation of the President that they wanted to extend. So it can be extended. The problem with the new Constitution, it does not say how long Congress can extend.
Hey. Good. How are you? If you guys remember, 2 years ago, I came to the University of the Philippines to get the opinions of the students on both the drug war and martial law. So we decided to come back and do it again. Let's see what these kids have to say.
My name is Jewel Enrile, and I am a freshman in the College of Mass Communication, Broadcast, Media Arts and Studies.
What's your opinion about martial law in Mindanao?
Oh yeah, that's a thing. I think it's being covered. Well, not really being covered up. It's just forgotten now because it's still on, right? I think it's still on, and people have forgotten about it because, well, the communication stopped there, so you don't really know what's happening anymore. And I think I don't agree with it. I think people who agree with it that are in Mindanao are just in a certain state of privilege where their rights aren't being stepped on. And martial law in any place for me isn't really an answer. I really don't know a lot more about it aside from the instance that it was implemented because of the Marawi terrorist attack. But after the initial protest, I feel like there should have been more. There should have been more of an outcry. There should have been more protests about it, but it just kept being extended and everybody just forgot with all the other problems in the country.
I am Ralph Justin Baginon. I'm a chemical engineering student in the University of the Philippines, Diliman.
What is your opinion about martial law in Mindanao?
Martial law in Mindanao, it's a illusion of order and peace in the island. However, due to the countless lumads being harassed and killed the indigenous people in Mindanao, the people are being terrified of the attacks of the state. Workers are holding strikes all across the country, especially in the region, in the island of Mindanao. I think that the martial law in Mindanao has not pacified anything, but it has further oppressed the marginalized sectors of our country.
I'm Ford and I study biology. I'm a freshie here in UPD.
What's your opinion about martial law in Mindanao?
Martial law in Mindanao. I guess I can summarize my opinion on it as history repeating itself, and I think it's inevitable that martial law implementation would spread to Visayas, Mindanao, not Mindanao, Luzon. And in general, I think it's a measure for the Duterte administration to have more control over Mindanao, although there's no reason that justifies that implementation of the martial law.
Oh, hi, I'm Justine. I'm BA European Languages, studying German, and my cognate is political science.
What is your opinion about martial law down in Mindanao?
I can't speak for all of the people in Mindanao because I don't really know people in Mindanao, but I know that as a matter of fact that martial law has happened in the Philippines before and it did not end well for us, and I hope that this will soon be lifted for Mindanao because again it doesn't cause it's not causing any good benefits for the Filipinos there, and the Lumads there, they're people who's our fellow country people who are displaced from their homelands just because they don't have the right papers, they say papers, in order to actually live there. So I hope that martial law would actually be lifted from Mindanao.
My name is Athena and I study BA European Languages, majoring in German and minoring in French.
What is your opinion about martial law in Mindanao?
My opinion on martial law in Mindanao is that people from Mindanao might not know the general implication of martial law to other islands such as Luzon and Visayas, but I do think the martial law should be lifted because it doesn't mean anything good for the Lumad communities there, those who live in the eastern parts of the island, since their lands they own ancestral lands and some military forces take away their lands from them, and that doesn't mean anything positive for them in general, even though some people may say that it is just propaganda, everything that people are saying about martial law and how it is bad, because I have friends and I have family there. I come from that island, and I do think that martial law is not an effective way to mitigate problems there, since military enforcement hasn't done anything good. It hasn't done anything mostly good in the past few years or recently. So yeah.
This is my last day in the Philippines for this trip, and I'm walking up to the monument that was recently constructed for the Marawi crisis. There's not a hell of a lot that I can say that's going to be poignant, other than the fact that war is a terrible thing. I've been there. Nothing good comes from it. Nobody's objectives are really ever truly achieved, at least not completely. So I'm just going to remain quiet. We're going to look at this monument briefly before the thunderstorm rolls in. This memorial honors the 160 soldiers from the Armed Forces of the Philippines and 8 personnel from the Philippine National Police who were killed in action while liberating the city of Marawi in Lanao del Sur from terrorists who intended to establish a caliphate for the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria in what is known as the Marawi Siege, which began on 23 May 2017 and ended 17 October 2017. The sculptural tableaus tell the story of our troops' courage and selflessness as they carried out their primary duty of serving the people and defending the land during the siege. Incorporated in the base are relics from Ground Zero, which create a physical connection to the battle, as well as sculptural rat holes, which serve as a metaphor for the challenges encountered by our troops on the battlefield. Aside from imbuing the memorial with a distinct Filipino identity, the Saramanok and Ukil motifs signify that the battle happened in Marawi and serve as a symbol of our solidarity with our Maranao brothers and sisters who have been displaced by the 5-month-long battle and who continue to suffer to this day. The upward-moving lines form an eternal flame at the top to symbolize this nation's profound gratitude to the valiant troops who laid down their lives for country.